Tonight, Hollywood is holding its breath because the final decision on Clifton Powell has officially dropped. And whether you love him, hate him, or only recognize him as that one dude from that one movie, this verdict changes everything. Clifton Powell's whole career reads like a movie script. A kid growing up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. A breakout actor who went from street corners to the silver screen. A Hollywood success story nearly erased by scandal, rumors, lawsuits, and career-crushing headlines. And now? Hollywood just delivered what many are calling his final sentence. Not in a courtroom, but in the industry itself. This is the story behind that verdict, what really happened, why his career almost collapsed, and why the final chapter might not be the one Hollywood expected. Let's break it all down. Late last night, major networks reported that the Powell case, the one haunting him for over a decade, is officially closed. Not reopened, not retried. Closed. But here's the twist. Hollywood isn't treating that closure like freedom. They're treating it like a sentence. Clifton Powell has always been one of those actors where you go, wait, I know that face. Over 100 films. 3 decades of nonstop work. Comedies, dramas, classics. He was the guy directors called when they needed someone intense, someone funny, someone dangerous, someone fatherly, sometimes all in the same year. His breakout moment came in Menace to Society, a role so raw it felt like Powell wasn't acting at all. Then came Friday, next Friday, Dead Presidents, Rush Hour, the kind of resume actors dream of. But behind the scenes, the higher his career climbed, the more fragile everything became. And when the scandal hit, everything he built was suddenly hanging by a thread. To understand why this new final sentence matters, you have to understand the case that almost ended his career. In 2011, a woman under the name Keontae Myers accused Powell of crossing the line during an encounter in a New Orleans hotel room. She claimed things started consensually and then suddenly weren't. She claimed she told him to stop, and he didn't. TMZ grabbed the story instantly, and that was it. The match was lit. Even before police finished the investigation, the internet had already played judge, jury, and executioner. Criminal charges dropped. There wasn't enough evidence, therefore no case. But the civil lawsuit dragged on for years. One accusation, not proven, not supported, was enough to shadow every room he walked into. Hollywood doesn't wait for verdicts or public opinion, and public opinion had already spoken. Roles disappeared. Shows cut him mid-season. Projects he'd already filmed quietly pulled away from promoting him. Producers and casting directors didn't want the bad press or risk. He went from constantly booked to radio silence almost overnight. And while the lawsuit was eventually dismissed, the damage wasn't. He had to fight a battle the courtroom cleared him of. But the industry never did. This is where the story gets dark. Because even after the civil case was thrown out, even after no criminal charges were filed, even after Powell fought for years to clear his name, Hollywood acted like nothing changed. And this is the final sentence people are talking about today, not a legal punishment, but a career one. For years, studios refused to touch him, not because he was convicted of a crime, but because he was accused of one. Imagine being proven innocent but still losing the job. Powell said it himself, the accusations cost him work he'd already been guaranteed. Shows that cut him after 2 episodes, friendships inside the industry. Trust from producers he'd worked with for decades. Opportunities that younger actors used to leapfrog over him. Court cleared him, but Hollywood didn't. That's the real tragedy. Powell wasn't just fighting allegations, he was fighting Hollywood itself, and he was brutally honest about it. For years, he said he ran into studios who openly told him, "You're too dark for the role. You might scare viewers. You're not the look we want." Imagine dedicating your entire life to acting, and then being told the thing you can't change, your skin tone, disqualified you from opportunities. Directors praised him for playing tough guys and criminals, But when it came to roles showing vulnerability, romance, or softness, suddenly he was too intense. Hollywood loved the stereotypes he could play, but they didn't love him. And during the height of his career, instead of being pushed forward, he was quietly boxed into the same roles over and over because of the industry's colorism. Combine that with the scandal, and Powell became one of the easiest names to blacklist. What most people never knew was how much Powell had already survived long before Hollywood tried to cancel him. What most people never knew was how much Powell had already survived long before Hollywood tried to cancel him. He lost his mother at 4 years old. He grew up in the most dangerous part of Southeast D.C. His father struggled with alcoholism. Childhood friends ended up dead or in prison. He clawed his way out of that world. And when he finally built a stable life, fame came with its own demons. He admitted to blowing $30,000 to $50,000 a year gambling, being surrounded by fake friends, falling into the lifestyle, struggling to balance work and family, losing a $5 million fortune during his divorce. Missing years of his kids' lives because of work. He said the allegations were the second worst pain of his life. The first was losing his father. When the lawsuit hit, he wasn't just fighting for his reputation. He was fighting for his family, his legacy, and the career that he built on top of every hardship he'd survived. So here we are. The case is officially closed. The decision is final. No charges, no conviction, no pending appeals. And yet, Hollywood still hasn't opened its arms back up. That is the real final sentence. Not from a judge, but from an industry that often forgets its own history of mistakes and comebacks. The real question now is, does this verdict revive his career, or did Hollywood already write him off years ago? And honestly, only time will tell which version of Clifton Powell the world chooses to remember. The actor with 100 unforgettable roles, or the man wrapped in headlines that never should have defined him. If you made it this far, you already know this story is deeper than a headline. Hollywood will forgive a lot, but will it forgive him? Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Clifton Powell overdue for a comeback, or did the industry already decide? Thanks for watching. Subscribe and check out the next video for more stories the media doesn't want you to look closely at.